Hello, this is Bark on Closure from sunny Netherlands. Today it's sunny. I will go out after I make this video, but first I want to discuss a new feature in Babashka, which is not finished yet. It's a work in progress, but I would like to have your feedback on this, so I can make it stable and I can announce it as a new feature in the future. The feature is called Babashka tasks, and it's documented in this issue 778 on the Babashka repo. It has documentation of how it works currently, and this might change, so I'm keeping a change log of what happens around this feature in this issue. And it is not a stable feature, but I would like you to try it out to make it stable, because yeah, it's a chicken and egg situation. I need feedback, I need real usage before I know this feature is what we want. So what problem does this feature solve? Well, what I see in many projects is that people write scripts, bash scripts, Babashka scripts, other languages scripts, and they have something like a make file to quickly invoke these scripts from the command line. And usually they don't even use all the features that are available in make, or they make all the tasks phony in the make file. So there is another tool called justfile, which does exactly what make does, but with all the tasks phony automatically, and it removes a lot of the features from make, so it's just a task runner. npm also has a kind of a thing called npm scripts, and then you can say npm run and then some shell command quickly from the terminal. So this is kind of what I wanted to have for Babashka, because if you're already using Babashka scripts in your project, why go with another tool which promotes bash scripting if you can do it in Babashka, right? So yeah, so that's the problem statement. It's mainly shortcuts for commands, but it's a little bit more powerful than that. So yeah, I can go through the documentation, but I think it might be even better to just start with an example. So at work, we have a new front-end project, and I won't discuss what this front-end project does, but you can imagine it's pretty similar in a lot of projects. So we have production tasks. So this is bb.eden, and it has a tasks entry. And now we have a task called build cljs, which just builds your ClojureScript sources. Okay, so to do this, you can provide a docstring, and so if you run bb, let's see, let me go to the right directory. Yeah, here. If you run bb tasks on the command line, it prints all the tasks that you have defined in alphabetical order, and with the docstring you provided yourself. So here it's build cljs, and it says build production.js, and that's what you see here. It's pretty basic, and I think basic is good, because I don't want to make this very complex, but I do want to provide like 80% of what people usually use make for. And if you really do need sophisticated tricks that only make provides, then you can always use make as well, right? So when you invoke this build cljs command, it will first fulfill all its dependencies. And here install is the dependency. So you can see here, install, it's my colleague Andre called it maintenance tasks. That makes sense. So install, what it does, it only calls npm install. So we have some npm dependencies. So we're using closure scripts, tools depths, build tooling, but we're also using npm. So we're combining this in one task runner. So yeah, let me just run bb install. So this is how you can invoke the task. So it just runs npm install for you, and that's it. But if I run build cljs, it will run both npm install, and then when that's successfully completed, then it will run closure compilation. So let's try that. So we see that it runs npm, and now it will run closure compilation. I think it takes a while because it's the JVM. So here we see it's ontolog, it's compiling. That's the name of our app. Okay, so we're using shadow cljs in this project. I think it uses, that's why you see this npm stuff. But okay, this works. This is something from shadow cljs. So it was completed. So that's what this does. So we have the bb tasks feature has a special two special functions. So it has the shell function, which just invokes the shell, and we have a closure function which invokes closure with these arguments. You don't need an additional install for closure, because Babashka comes internally already with a replacement for the closure CLI, which is what this function is using. Okay, so yeah, that's basically the gist of it. So yeah, it's the same for when you do less compilation. It also needs the npm install, and then we run npm run release, whatever is behind this. In this case, it's the CSS production. But there is more to it, because sometimes we want to do things in parallel because it's faster. And what you can do in this case is you make a private task. So when you start a name with a dash or a hyphen, then it won't show up in this output bb task. So you don't see the names with a hyphen. Those are so-called private tasks. And this private task depends on cljs and the less task. And then we have a task called build, which first runs clean, and then it runs the build task, the private build task, but with the parallel option. And what this means is that Babashka will try to run all the dependencies when possible in parallel. So we get faster builds. So if I would do this, bb clean and bb minus build. So you can still call it from the command line, but it's just not listed. And if we measure this time, Maybe I have to do it like this to, I don't know if time measures. Let's do it like this, okay? So we're running these tasks in serial. My laptop fan is spinning. I will check briefly what is going on with this. Maybe it's just because I'm running a lot of compilation tasks. So how long did it take? It took 32 seconds to run these tasks in serial. But if I run this build task, which runs parallel build, which runs these two in parallel. Let's see, bb build, and then time. Let's see if that goes faster. So we had 32 seconds before, and well, the compilation, the backend compilation, the closure script compilation is taking the longest here. So maybe it doesn't matter that much in this case. No, it doesn't really matter. Okay, well, that's a bummer, but you can do things in parallel. That's the gist of this thing. So yeah, well, that's one example of what you can do with the tasks. You can run normal closure expressions. So here we say, well, the clean task, I just want to remove all these files here. And yeah, so it requires a namespace. So you have to explicitly list your namespaces that you want to require using the requires option. And this is also possible within a task. So you can also say it here. If you don't need these namespaces elsewhere. So let's see if this is the only place that they're used. So you can keep them locally. And this will still work. Let's bb clean. Yeah, this worked. So it prints something. This is because Babashka always prints the last value in a program. So if you don't want this, you can put a nil here. So you can see it's just arbitrary expressions here. So that's one example that we're using at work. I do have more examples. So let's see, what else did I have? So here, this one is part of a demo called from Mac. Mac is a Mach, it's called. It's a build tool from Juxt, which is not maintained anymore. But it was a pretty cool idea, and I stole some ideas from this tool for the BB tasks functionality. So what they had is also an Eden file, and then with similar things to what I'm doing here, but more sophisticated. So they have an explicit novelty property, and so it's very much more like make. But I took a couple of ideas from this and to see if I could replicate what they were doing with Mach, sorry, it's German, just to see if I could do the same that they were doing with their tool. So I replicated this 36 line build script, which is very much similar to what you would do with make, and I ported it to the BB tasks. So what happens, they have an explicit update function, And this update function only runs when the novelty function is returning new, or the novelty property is returning new files, sorry. So what they do is they check is something modified since, and then some reference file, and then they filter a directory for, and then they return some other files that this reference file is compared against. So this is what I did is just extract this function into Babashka-fs, which is a library fs. So ModifySince, I think. Yeah, so I just extracted this function over here. So you can say ModifySince, and then an anchor, and then a file set. So if I run this on the command line, I go to Babashka. My laptop is a little bit spinning now. I don't know for sure what. I think it's just OBS that. I don't know. Let's just continue. I hope it doesn't bother you too much. So what you can do is ModifySince. Yeah. So fs ModifySince, and so my anchor is test, and I list all the files from source that have been modified since the most recently modified file in the test directory. So what I get here is that only well, there is at least one, and only the tasks file has been modified more recently than any file in the test directory. So it's just a regular function that you can now use in Babashka. So I used this to implement what Mach was doing, more or less. So it's a little bit, I don't have explicit clean or explicit targets, products, but you can get a long way with this. So, one thing I didn't explain yet is, so you can, these expressions or these names coupled to expressions, you can invoke them from the command line. So you can say, well, I want to list all the Java files, right? So I go to the examples directory, and then I say bb-java files. So you can see, well, it is source A and source B. So you can see that here. But you can use the results from this subtask, let's say. You can reuse this when you depend on this task. You can then use this as a value. So I list all the Java files, and then I compare them against the classes directory. So the classes directory task, it creates the classes directory if necessary, and then returns it. So let's see. Classes there. That's that. And if there are any modified files in these Java sources, then, well, I just print them as debugging. So let's try it. There is no modified files. But if I touch one of these, touch source, then it should, yeah, so there is one modified source file here. So I print it, and then I call javac on it. So I say apply shell javac this. The directory is the classes there, and these are the modified files that I want to compile. Okay, so it only compiles the most recently changed classes or Java files. So if I look in the target classes directory, you see it now compiled these A and B classes. Okay. Same with CSS, the same trick. So if there are modified Sass files, it will compile the modified Sass files. And not sure if this. I think there is only one Sass file here, but not sure if this is the correct way of doing it. But I just ported it as the Mach file was doing it. Maybe it's a little bit strange that only the recently modified Sass files are compiled and then inserted in this product. But okay, so what you can do with shell is you can also explicitly provide an out file, which the output that this shell task, it won't be printed to the console, but it will be printed to this file. Okay, so in here everything is combined. So we depend on classes, their Sass files, and these tasks. So here we have modified things in either the Sass files or the classes there. And then if something is modified, then we make the jar. And if the jar already exists, then the command is slightly different because the jar file is updated. I think that this means, instead of created. And if you want to have both clean and jar, you just make another task called jarclean, which executes bb clean first and then bb jar. So yeah, before I also did it like this, so depends clean jar, but this is not compatible if you run things in parallel, because if you run jarclean in parallel, for example, like this, bb run jar parallel jarclean, then jar and clean and jar are run at the same time, and this is not what you want. You always want to run clean first and then the jar. So this is why I recommend now doing it like this, unless you're absolutely certain that you will never invoke this thing in parallel. But I think this is a more, let's say, idiomatic way of doing this with bb tasks. Oh, well, how long am I in this video? Okay, yeah. Oh, if this looks useful to you, please let me know. If this doesn't look useful to you, please let me know what can be improved. We still have some room to make breaking changes to this, because I explicitly say that this is not stable yet. It's experimental, but I do want you to try it out, and let's improve this so we can have the ultimate task runner to combine all these npm and closure and other stuff into one nice task runner. I hope you liked it. So if you have feedback, there is a link well, there is an issue 778, but I want to keep this a little bit clean and not with a lot of discussions here. So I made a different discussion here in the GitHub has a new discussions feature, and there we can discuss in length, and you can well, we can have threads here and stuff like this. So yeah, this is where the long-winded discussions can happen, and I will extract all the feedback into this issue and make updates as necessary. Cool. So what you can also do, I didn't show this as a maybe as a bonus. Test one. Let's make a new BB Eden file. So I'm in temp test1 BB Eden. Let's see what we have. Source. We don't have any sources, but I can make a tasks namespace here. And I can say in my BB Eden file paths source. And now I can say defn useful function args, and I print the args. Okay. So what if I want to use this function from my tasks? Well, this is easy, because you can do tasks useful, and then you can say tasks useful function. So this is just for very quick access to functions in your code base, your Babashka code base. You can explicitly or provide a fully qualified symbol. And now I can say, let's go there, test one, clear. Now I can say this args nil. So it just passes through the command line arguments to this function. But if you want to provide your own command line arguments from the tasks, you can say, you can do it like this, task, and now I want to call this one, but I need to require this myself, so I say requires tasks, and I want to invoke it like this. Let's see, BB useful, 1, 2, 3, yeah? So this is how you can make the connection between your Babashka functions in different namespaces, and so these things are only required when necessary. So if I have another task, it's just prints foo, print line foo, bb another. This doesn't require, when I invoke the another task, it doesn't invoke or doesn't require the task's namespace. So if this thing takes a long time to start, so another is still fast, but now useful takes 2 seconds because I put this thread sleep here. So this is how you can make dependencies optional for other tasks. Okay, this was it. I'm at 30 minutes almost. I think I'm rounding it up. So let me know if what you think of this task runner. Please test it out. Maybe port your existing make files to this and see what you experience, and let me know. You can also go to the cljs Slack. There is a Babashka channel over there, and where we can also discuss this stuff. Okay, hope to see you there, and have a nice day. I will go out for a run now in the sunny weather here in the Netherlands. Hope you have a good weekend. Bye bye.